unique thing is there have been times where I will hear from my son's mouths something my husband or I had said.
Oh, it got through. Why don't you sit here?
Okay.
Because you got the, you need the fan. I don't know fan.
I can't handle the heat.
I'm getting worse and worse at the heat.
Talking it when we're talking about hormones.
I know, the opposite end of the hormones. Yeah.
Overweight, I have hormones, and it's just a bad combination.
Stand here. So, I mean, this is very informal. So I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Kim. I've been with the New Jersey Angels for 2 years. I spent my career in the corporate world, and then I owned a childcare facility. So nonprofit work is really new for me. But with that said, I did start as a case manager. So I had met someone, was doing a nonprofit networking group, and on the call, Cheryl Oliver, who founded this chapter, would come on to the call. And we all had to like say what we were doing. And at the time, I was working with elephants in Sri Lanka. Great cause. But she would come on and say, I'm Cheryl, I'm with the New Jersey Angels, and 2/3 of children who age out of foster care wind up homeless, incarcerated, human trafficked, or dead. And that was a statistic I couldn't hold up. I'm like, why is nobody paying attention to this? So how can I be involved? So as I was mentioning before, oops, why is this not clicking? Oh, we are a national organization. So we were created really to empower people who are experiencing foster care. So we have 2 programs, which I'll talk more about, but we have a family program, which is Love Box, which is a wrap around the entire family, and Dare to Dream, which is a mentorship program. So we talk a lot about matching people. We take volunteers, everyday members of the community, train them, tell them all about what we do, and then find out what they're looking to do as far as being a mentor or embracing a family. And then we have families, and we say, what do you need? Do you need someone to babysit? Do you need someone to just be for you? Like, I had a match one time, and the woman had an infant that she was fostering, and she was about to adopt him. And she said, I've got that. She goes, but I need someone to talk to about it. So I matched her with this woman who's a rape healer, very calm, nice person. The 2 of them had an amazing friendship. So it was about the child, but it was about this woman fostering. So that's when we talk about matches. We have a volunteer and we match them with a family, and or the Love Box, the Dare to Dream program is a mentorship one-on-one. But there are over 400,000 children across the country who are experiencing this. And as you can see, these are all the chapters. I mean, maybe they're not all on that map, but these are all the list of all the chapters. And we are the only one who noticed that handles the entire state. So when we first started, Cheryl Oliver, who was the founder, she said we was going to be Mercer County. And she said, well, what if someone's right outside Mercer? I'm going to say no to this person. So no, we can handle the whole state. So Susan Ramirez, who started this organization in Austin, Texas, she said, Austin has about the same amount of kids, which is 3,000 in foster care, and it's almost geographically about the same size. So we're going to let you do that. So that's why we're the only ones, but it's a big undertaking. Yeah. So what is foster care? So it's people, because a lot of times people will say to us, oh, so you place children in foster care. We don't do that. The DCP&P places children in foster care. And what is it? It's because the child has to be placed outside of their home for a variety of reasons, because they're unsafe in their home. But the primary goal, we talk about it, is to reunite. Yeah. Is to reunite. Or if not possible, then to have someone become adoptive. So we talk about resource families a lot. Resource families, instead of calling them foster families, it's resource families. So really, it's just they're trained and licensed by the state. And one of the things that people say to me a lot is, don't they get money from the state? Yeah, they get money from the state, but it's not enough. It's not enough to be successful. So what we do is fill the gap between what the state gives them monetarily and resource-wise and what someone really needs to be successful as a foster parent. Because this work is hard. This work is really hard. So why do we exist? Because their outcome and statistics involving foster care are bleak. 50% of the homeless population spent time in foster care. And I'm not going to read all of them because you can read them. But one of the big ones is 50% who age out won't graduate from high school. And part of that, a big part of that, is because on average, they move 5 times in 2 years. And every time they move, they lose 6 months of their education. So doing that math, you can see why only 50% will graduate from high school. Sure, yeah.
Do you know why they have to move?
It's a variety of reasons. Now, the first move out of the home is typically because there's some danger or there's whatever the situation is, it's let's put them right into a family as possible. Now that they're there, we're gonna look for kinship. They look a lot for kinship. Is there an aunt or is there an uncle by? Let's start looking and see if there's somebody else that can take care of them. And then sometimes that doesn't work out. I knew personally a child who was in my child care facility. It's the first time I really had an experience with a child. And this is it was in a beautiful home in our town, a wonderful family who had fostered for years. They really loved him. They had him for a while. They wanted to, that was the first family we went to. And they were thinking of adopting him. They found kinship, but the kinship was in Connecticut. We're in New Jersey. And the kinship, they were older, and he was a toddler. This is not energy. So the aunt and uncle were welcoming him, and then they went, we can't do this. This is hard. I'm tired. So guess what? He had to go back into foster care. Luckily, he did. Luckily, they were still available, but typically they're not. So, and then when that happened, and then he wound up going back to the mom. And so that, just think about that's one, 2, 3, and then back to the mom. And that was within a year and a half. You see the change, you can see the change.
And for little ones, that importance of schedule, and what's familiar, it's just
so important. And I used to see the state, and this is, nothing against the state, but they have so many cases. And they would bring him in, the foster family would bring him in, and they would put him in, he'd start playing with his friends, and then someone would be picking him up from the state a half hour later. Oh, he's gotta go to somebody. I'm like, I just got him. It's like you sitting down, having a cup of coffee at work, and someone going, yeah, no, you're not working here tonight. And then he would come back. And the kids would be sleeping. And then he would have to eat ice. And it was a whole thing. And I was trying to advocate for him. Once he talked to the state, they're like, oh, that doesn't make sense. We're gonna pick him up at the family's home first, so he doesn't have to make those changes. No, not worked. But that's one child that I'm watching. So it's really tough. So, and 97% will graduate from college. This one's really big. That children in foster care experience PTSD 2 times the rate of combat veterans. And it's ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. So we are the New Jersey Angels, established in 2021. So as I mentioned before, we're the first statewide chapter. So when we first started, 1 family, 9 children, 1 county. 2022, you could see what we had. And in 2023, last year, we were serving 31 families, 102 children and youth in 13 counties. So we're really growing. But we now have a wait list. When we first started in Mercer County, we had a lot of people that wanted to be involved, and they signed up to be the Dare to Dream mentors. We didn't have any youth. We weren't known enough. Recently, we've been invited, so we've been creating more awareness, and we were invited through DCPMP and CASA to an Embracing Independence event up in Secaucus. They had this for 30 children who were about to age out, and they were 14 and older. So we had a booth there, and we had, I don't know, like 10 kids to have mentors. So right now waiting, we have 35 families waiting, which has a total of 96 children. And we have 19 Dare to Dream youth. So why I'm doing things like this today is to talk to different counties and talk about, we don't have anybody in Morris County right now, which is interesting. There's about 60 something kids in Morris County, but right on the periphery of you guys, Union and Essex, you can cross county.
You can, because we're the little thumb.
Yeah.
In Morris County, and Union is right.
Yes.
Next door in Berkeley Heights, Somerset.
Yeah, so that's why I brought up that. We have Union and
can
Essex. So you can cross county. What we want to make sure is that it's convenient. 30 minutes, that could be depending on where you live, 5 miles away or 15 miles away. But within 30 minutes, we'd like to keep it, just because we don't want it to be an inconvenience. Say, oh, I gotta go there, it's 45 minutes, an hour away. we want it to be convenient, like typically it's community based, like Bakersfield, we have a chapter in Bakersfield. Everybody's within a certain range. For us, it's a little bit more difficult. There's a little bit management of where do we have the families? Where do we need volunteers? So that's one of the challenges that we're facing. But right now, there's 5 families waiting and 2 Dare to Dream youth waiting close by you guys. So how many, these are by the numbers, like talking about this data. There's so many different places to get data, but in 2022, this is something that came from the national government, but by state, and it's 2786. That's been varying between, since I started, like a little over 3,000. So it's around 3,000. The state has been a big push to not pull children from their homes. They're really working on keeping the homes intact, keeping the kids intact, and working with resources, the family resources. That's one of the things that they're, so that the numbers will come down a little bit.
How much of that have I break down on pages? It breaks my heart when I see someone 16, 17, maybe almost 18. But you still get adopted because you're not, you're still a kid. You still have so much that you need.
And a lot of times, because they've had not a great experience in foster care, that's when they say, I'm done. They can stay in, because we have some kids who can say, they think they can stay up to 22 in the state of New Jersey, or 21. But a lot of times they don't want to because they're done. Like, unless they have a really nice family, that they're like a strong family unit that they've been with. But a lot of times once they lose so much, it's just a lot of trauma, and it's very hard. But with our programs, that's when we step in and we say, hey, listen, if you're willing to walk alongside with one of our mentors, let's help you figure it out. Let's help you figure out what's life like for you that's not including foster. That's why we don't say foster children. We say children in foster care. Because it shouldn't define who they are. They're in the system through no fault of their own. Right. So that's where we hope to make those changes in stats, where we're having kids graduate. We have Bakersfield is a chapter I talk about a lot, because they're very successful. They have a very strong community, very strong church community in their town, and 100% of the kids in their program graduated from this.
And I was just saying California.
Yeah, so I'd like to tell about that story, because that's a success story that they're having based on our programs and based on what we do as an organization. We're hoping to have that in New Jersey at some point. But so a lot of people ask why? Why do they enter foster care? A big part of it is neglect. Neglect can mean poverty. You have 2 parents working 2 jobs and they leave the kids home. A neighbor finds something goes on with the kids, neighbor calls, next thing you know, they're getting removed from their home. A neighbor is watching them and that neighbor goes out. There's so many different, but a big part of it is neglect. And that's where it's like that fine line. Can we help the family? Do they need resources? How can we have the children not be removed? What does that mean? And then of course, the worst, that's sexual and physical abuse. But neglect is a big part of it. I mean, the other ones are obvious removal. Same thing with the race and ethnicity of children. A lot of people wonder, so I've put that up when I'm giving presentations to the general community, because I think we all have a vision of what foster care looks like. And I have had since I got to spend time as a case manager, I get to meet with so many families. There's so many wonderful families doing this work. They are doing the heavy work. We're just there to lighten that burden somewhat. What can we do that so you feel supported? So because 50% will close in the first year, they just don't feel supported. And that's why we exist, because we want them to be strong and we want them to feel. We got the best compliment the other day, or the best experience, because we had a woman who had just finished her licensing. She called us, she doesn't have a child yet. And she reached out and said, hey, I've heard of your organization. I'm about to begin my foster journey. I would love to connect with you and find out. That's the key. So we're there at the beginning. So they know that we have that support. We can work on matching, talking to a family who's close by, depending on what child she gets or how many children she starts fostering. We could be there at the very beginning so that they stay open. I have a woman right now who is, and I'll tell that story in a little bit.
Quick question.
Sure.
So what is the process that this woman had to go through to get her license to become a foster parent?
That's through the state, so I don't have a lot, there's a lot of details. This is one of the things that I remember, they get all sorts of income data, work data, references. One of the women said, yeah, I even got the comment of, wow, you've had a lot of drug developments, because they asked for credit card statements, they asked for so many things, what are you buying, what do you do? They really tried to vet them out to make sure. So when we come in, and that's another thing, someone had said to us, a family who's working with us, they said, you're the only organization that comes in and doesn't ask something of us. You're giving to us. Because, you know, we do ask at the beginning a lot of questions, because we want to understand who they are as a family. So that beginning part can be a little bit, I don't want to say intrusive, and when I used to have to do it, I go, I'm really sorry, yes, this, I'm like, really? I got, you know, everything was out in the open when I had to do it. So, and then exit outcomes, adoption and reunification. And you know, reunification works sometimes, and it's awesome if the parent can get the resources they need, and sometimes it's not.
So the other percentage is those that aren't adopted or.
No. The other percentages, it's neither one, they wind up aging out without having.
That's the one.
It's
I mean, that's basically like being homeless at 18. It's just,
yes,
they've got nothing. I know there's some support, but
and it's hard
they're
to
too
come
young. They're not mature enough to
They
do
do, I
that.
don't imagine my kids, and they've grown up in a.
My 24-year-old, like I was thinking, no,
Yes, it's very hard. No one can do that at 18. So how do we make an impact? So we talk about it's community-based support. It's very, when we're looking to get funding and we talk to people about it, we're like, it takes people to help people. We are very individualized. To do this work, it takes a lot of people. We have a case manager who is onboarding a family, a case manager who is onboarding a volunteer, and then making that match. And when we make that match, we are also in that relationship with, you know, it's a triangle. We're talking to the volunteer, hey, how's it going? Is there anything going? Talking to the family, is she doing, you know, what you need to do? Caregivers don't want to ask. Caregivers are classic for that. They don't want to ask for help. They want to do it all themselves. I know I have someone who, I was so proud of when she finally said to me, Ken, I'm getting a male baby who's up and I'm asking for help. And I'm so glad, like, I was so glad she asked. She told me that she
Because
needed
it's not a sign of weakness, that's true. And sometimes, I don't know, the program that suck it up, do it, you can do it.
yeah, until you're on the floor in a field position.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so you know, they don't ask for help. So we're there to fill the gap between what someone needs, what they're given by the state, and truly, you know, to be successful, you need a village. And there's so many dollars that are funneling in, like billions of dollars into all these programs and systems. It's abandoned. We need to walk alongside. There's a book by Johann Hari called Lost Connections. I don't know if you've ever read it. But it's about anxiety and depression. And one of the things that he called the cure for it is community. And it's the same. We need community. We need everyday people to help people. And that's how it works, walking alongside.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
Oh, but what do you need? But you ask, what do you need?
Yes. What do you need? I had someone ask me that question one time when I was a very crazy corporate kid. I almost cried when someone said, can I help you in any way? I was like, oh, no one's ever asked me if I needed help. You know, and that was with my own life, not fostering someone else's child, which takes a special heart to do that. So our mission statement is to walk alongside. We always say that, walk alongside through consistent support, intentional giving, relationship building, and mentorship. When Susan Ramirez started this program, she would show up, her and her friends would show up with this woman. She had 6 teenage boys she was fostering. I just can't even imagine. And they would show up with a big box. And the woman would say, here comes my big box of love, or that's how the love box got the name. So, but she would show up with the items, right? And the woman finally told her one time, she said, we have enough sanitizer to bathe everyone. We don't need any sanitizer. We appreciate it, but we don't need any more. So that's where that intentional part comes out. It's like, What's your favorite laundry soap? What's your favorite this? And you try to find out these things. They're not gonna
Yes.
tell us.
Yes.
Or notice, if they don't want to tell you, you notice, oh, they don't, I got this, I got that. So you bring those items, it's a conduit to the relationship, the love box, it's a conduit. What they realized as they kept showing up for this family, one of the boys, they noticed, he wanted to play football. And they said, oh, why don't you? And he goes, well, I've never got a passing grade. Yeah, they back, why? They moved around so much, it's his education. So they worked with him. And when he finally got a passing grade, he called Miss Susan, I made the football team. I love you. And it was the first time he had ever said that to anyone. And that was just taking the time to understand who he was and what are his hopes and dreams. And that was what made the difference. So that's how the program evolved to, we need to wrap around this entire family. But then you have a Dare to Dream portion where one-on-one, they can really use one-on-one. So that's how it all, so that's intentional giving, relationship building, and mentorship. And it's about empowering. When we match Dare to Dream volunteers, we have a tendency to try to fix, we're gonna fix that person. That's not what it's about, or not fix or help or tell them what to do. It's about friendship. It's about developing that bond with that before you can even get to that point of helping them in whatever way they need. Because they've got a really good their ears about what they need or whatever, but it's really empowering. And then the vision to create sustainable change. That's really what we want to do. We want to create sustainable change in the foster community because I was saying before, it's community, it's people helping people. That's what works. That's truly what works. So empowering the community, and they're about to start opening up new chapters again. They got really big, like at first it wasn't planned. Someone just that was in Amarillo, was the second chapter. They said, hey, I heard you do this. And can you open a chapter? She's like, yeah, sure, chapter. Now it's thought through. They have a chapter success group. They have National Angels, which helps all of the chapters. So there's Austin and then Nationals, which is also based in Austin. But their plan is to open a regional chapter in every metropolitan city. So we talked about this a lot. The Love Box program is wrapping around the entire family. Dare to Dream is 11 to 22. Just to mention one of the stories, I'll tell you when.
11 to 22
years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we started the Dare to Dream Junior because we had some people who, I think it was 14. And then there was a couple kids in the household that were like, hey, he's got a mentor. I want a mentor, So then we started making it younger.
Big brother, big sister.
It's a little bit similar. I don't really know how the program, I
don't know how they,
but yeah.
how they ascertain who needs help.
Yeah. 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 So we have specific milestones and I'll just tell you about them. So the whole family support, we talked about this before. And one of the things that makes us unique is that it's the whole family. I had a family who was, she had 2 biological boys and she had an infant that she was fostering. And during backpack season, the infant didn't need a backpack, but we brought her a little thing, but we brought backpacks for the biological children as well. We don't just focus on the one child that's being fostered. It's the entire family.
And that helps with that feeling of we're together.
Yes, I'm not other. I'm not getting the special treatment because they would say that, the child in foster care would come back from his visit with the case manager or something, and he had like McDonald's, and the kids were like, you have McDonald's. So now it's like, he gets something special.
Yeah.
So it's really about the entire family. And I've had people who have grandmothers. We put a little something in for the grandmothers, single moms, there's a grandmother in the house. It affects the whole family. So we really want to do it. And we talked about this before, is compassion fatigue, caregiver fatigue. It's real. They don't ask for help. And like I said, that one woman, Mary, asked for help. I was so proud of her. I was so excited that she asked. So here's the basics of it. So you can have a group of people who do it, but you would want probably, some people have like 5 people in it, but only 1 or 2 are really involved with the family, because someone might go, I don't know the family, I'm going to be going on it. I'm going to buy some stuff and you can bring. I'm part of this group, but I'll shop. You know what I mean? Everybody's got their strengths.
Yep.
And then the other people are like, I'm in, I wanna get into that family, I come from a big family, I wanna be around 5 kids. And then they're the ones who will go, but they have the group supporting them, so once again, they don't feel like they're doing it all by themselves. I have one, family, they have 3 women. And that is the woman who had the 2 biological kids and then the infant went back to the biological mom. So she was fostering again, toddlers. So this time, the first time she said, I would like to have someone that's for my sons. So they feel special. So I had a man come over, he played chess with them once a month, and he really developed a relationship with the boys. When she changed, when she had toddlers, she said, oof, I need help with the toddlers. That's a lot of energy going on there. So I want to spend a Sunday with my boys. And I would like someone to take my toddlers. And they took the toddlers she was fostering, and it's a group of 3 women. They take them to the park twice a month.
And did they have to meet the same stringent?
Yes, anyone that's in contact with the family has to have background checks,
Mhm.
all of that. So it's changing, it's ever changing of what they want. So, and really to create relational permanence, you know, I have a family who, oh boy, this was 2 years ago and she had already been with them for a year. She wound up, she was, a volunteer for a family that had 3 boys, all foster to adopt. So they were finally all adopted. She's still, and once they're adopted, then our program ends naturally. Like maybe we'll spend the next 6 months or a year after the child's adopted. You're not formally part of the program, but she's still friends with them. In fact, now I have another report. She's still hanging out with the boys, all 3 of them. She just took them for pickleball. So she wants to see those kids grow and see what is going to happen with them, even though she's not officially part of the program anymore. So these are just different ways. I had someone, you know, we say we want you to visit them at least once a month. Sometimes it's not possible. You're about to visit them and the kids go down and see them, right? She sent them a meal. You send them, you know, hey, I'm just gonna send you pizza tonight. Oh my gosh, how great is that? So any types of things. An Amazon list. We have emergent needs a lot of times for some of the families. So if they tell you what you want, you ship them an Amazon package. One of the things they talked about was lawn service. Like sometimes people are like, oh, I can't even get to the lawn. I know someone who would cut your lawn. So those types of things. So the goals of the program is increased placement stability. If that caregiver, the odds of that child moving is less. It may be out of their control sometimes, like when they find kinship or whatever. But if that family's feeling supported, they're more likely to keep doing the fostering. And then just normal childhood experiences, increase normalcy for these kids. We just got a call the other day from DCP&P and they said, hey, do you just give sports equipment or anything? They're like, no, that's really not what we do. Why? And she said, oh, there's a boy who really wants to play football and he just doesn't have boots and he doesn't have this. You get the equipment from school, but you don't get boots. You don't get whatever the jersey things you need to have, the gloves. All those little extras, he didn't have it, so he couldn't play.
They're expensive.
They're very expensive. And increased relational permanency, just long lasting. A lot of these kids don't have any trusting adult in their life. So to have a trusting adult, and that's then we go to Dare to Dream.
You know, that's all part of like the 6th grade age, 11, 12, that's like, I love kids at that age, but it's one thing that's good, self-confidence that will allow them to try something or to it's just so interconnected. And a lot of times they can't even be a part of sports, but they can't be a part of them to play. My son's in the musicals because they could get pulled in any moment and they don't know that they're going to. And if they even make friends, they won't. Sometimes, you know, they're just like, I'm afraid to. I understand that because you are afraid of allowing yourself to become vulnerable. So no, I'm just not gonna do that. And then you're looked at as being, you know, standoffish, angry, friendly.
Yeah. And it's super good. It's heartbreaking. That middle school years.
They're tough.
Wow.
They're tough, but I look at friends who were high school or are high school teachers, and I don't know how you do it. They look at me and say, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, everybody's got their specialty.
They do. And kindergarten teachers,
Oh, yeah.
they're special. I don't know.
I had a childcare facility and I was
Oh.
supposed to be the back end, you know, my partner who watched my 30-year-old, that's how I got involved in it. She's the kid lover. I was like, the joke was I didn't love kids. But I had to work every room because people don't show up for work. I mistakenly thought, or naively thought that I would never have to work with toddlers in the infant room. I worked every one of those rooms because someone didn't show up. And the one day I got thrown up on. And I remember going, we do not pay this good.
Oh,
And we could pay more and couldn't pay more,
no,
but they deserve. Wow.
Yep.
So much more. I'm gonna do that. Say that. You know what I mean? Why it's not valued in our country, sadly. So we were talking about the list of Dare to Dream. So we were talking about junior 11 to 14 versus 15 to 22. So those are, when we match someone with a Dare to Dream mentor and mentee, we go over the milestones with them. We talk to them and we say, here's what we're expecting to talk to you about. We make sure that the foster family, the family who's fostering, is okay with us having all of those conversations. It's something off limits you don't want to talk to them about because, once again, sexual health, internet safety, pregnancy among children, or among kids, girls and foster parents is very high because no one's talking to them about it. So we want to make sure that the family is okay and, you know, talk to the children about, or the youth about what we're going to be doing with them and how.
What are the ages to be able to participate as a volunteer?
You have to have a 6-year difference. So if you're 24, you can mentor an 18-year-old. And it, you know, it depends on the kids. We talk, we don't, yeah, it depends on the kids and it depends on the person who's doing that. This is, once again, very specific, but we want to make sure that there's a meld there. I was telling someone else about one of our mentors. He's on our board, actually. And I first met him as a Dare to Dream mentor. And he met this kid for the first time this year, and you could just see the connection. Like, they just got each other, they were finishing jokes about, they were like, oh, it's like they knew each other, you know, it was a very good connection. The child got moved 2 weeks after they got matched. So then we had to find, we were working with case managers, we were trying to find from DCP&P, where did he go? Because sometimes you don't know, if you don't have the case manager's name, or they don't, they maybe have gone to a different district, so I don't know. We finally find him, so that they got connected again. So they were connected for like a year. And we moved again. And now he's way down south, but he's still, our mentor is still with him. He still connects with him. He is almost 1.5, almost 2 years in at this point. And I'm starting to get into trouble. Get in trouble at school, and get in trouble. And the role of the mentor, he is so good. I said, well, how did it go with him? And he said, well, I went down to Sam and I said, heard you got it. And the boy said, yeah. It's like, do you want to go? And the boy went, no. And he goes, all right, I'll be here if you want. Because he doesn't need no judgment. He doesn't need reprimanding. He got it from the school. He got it from his foster. Yeah. All this guy's there to do is to hang with them. And one of the things we say, we don't want that foster parent to say no to our volunteer if they get in trouble, because then it's pulling something from them that's a positive thing. Because that's a whole different ballgame. They can reprimand him and do whatever, you don't follow them, but please don't not allow our mentors, because that shouldn't be the punishment, to take away a relationship that is a strong adult, good presence in his life. So,
But that is part of the issue, is that the child is that
not have a distance. We might have a distance, and luckily he's still the same. It's like over an hour for him, but he still sees them. So how do we meet? We recruit volunteers. Once again, the foster, its location, and it's also, you know, you can see when a match happens and it's really a good connection. I made probably 3 or 4 of them when I was a case manager. And it was so great to see that connection. Yeah. But the Love Box leader is the person who's consistently, if you do a group, and we train foster care 101, trauma, TBRI, which is trust-based relational intervention. How do you do that with children? And, you know, we give you, and we're really supportive, really making sure you're supportive. So this is just one of the quotes. Without our Love Box group, we wouldn't have said yes to our most recent. And the very first phone call was the first time I truly felt like help was on the way. We love to hear that because we know it's working. We know that we have a lot of anecdotal information. And one of the things we just did recently was survey. We did a survey to our families and to our volunteers and said, what are we doing right? What are we doing that's not so right? How can we fix it? How can we make sure we're doing more support? And I just love that. I love that we get those kinds of comments from them because we know we're doing something right. And it's really making them. But that's one of the things I love about the organization as well. We don't just stand by and think, oh yeah, this is great. It's good. We're trying to quantify what's happening. Are we getting better results? Are we getting kids who are getting adopted? Is that because of us? Someone told me the statistic. It used to be 3% of children graduate from college. I heard it was 4 the other day. And I was like, have we made, across the country? Did we change that stat? And I was so excited. I go, do we change the stat? Because it used to be 3 and nobody had an answer for me. But it's going in the right direction. It's going in the right direction. So we talk a lot about not everyone's called to foster, not everyone's called to adopt, but everyone can make a difference in the life. So if you're not called to even, if you're not called to do any of these programs, we just started with something called the A-Team. And the A-Team is volunteers who are not quite ready to commit to doing this, because this is a lot. You want to just kind of like, do I want it, do I not? So it's all different things. We have committees. We're doing a spring event in March. Being on that committee, we do a golf outing in September. It's doing special projects. We have the back to school backpacks. Right now we're in our holiday madness where we do baskets for all the families. So we find out, we do a very common basket and then each child in the household gets one particular gift. You get that. We're having volunteers deliver those now. If your background check, you can deliver. So there's many different ways you can get involved because not everybody is called to do this work. It's okay. But if it calls to you and there's something, even connections, like if people have connections at a local, whatever, that might be a sponsor for us for one of our outings. So anyway, if you want to get involved, we can put you on our list. I don't know if you had an opportunity to.
Yeah, I didn't send it out.
Or I could just take your name and put you on the list. For yourself.
Yeah, the question of the Love Box program groups. So do you have people come to you as a group and say we're interested, or do you have this person says I'd like to do this person says, oh, I can do shopping for you, and then you put them together in a group?
Both.
Okay.
We had a group come and they came as a pack, 3 of them. And then just recently we matched 2 people, 2 volunteers who didn't know each other, and matched them with a family because they were both like, let's do it. And then, you want to do it? They met on our book club. So we also have a book club. A book club. Yeah, we have a book club. We have a Better Together book club. Our programs director was. Yeah.
That.
So once a month or every other month, I think it's a lot because as an organization, it's me as the executive director. We have a program director and 1 full-time case manager, 1 part-time. So we run our entire board is a working board. We're trying to move away from that, but our board brings capture on that. They were the first Love Box people. They were the Dare Dream. They did everything. So now having me as the first full-time employee was a huge shift, just to have someone working at least 40 hours a week every day on it. Because when you start a nonprofit, it's a passion. And then you realize it's a business. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of people and a lot of time. So now we're getting to that point where we're hiring more people.
And where are you based?
I live in Montville. Okay. And the organization started in Jackson. That's where our address is, Jackson. I think that's where Cheryl started.
And you live in Bergen County.
Morris.
Or
the Montvale.
Yeah.
Vale is Bergen. And I'm at the top of
Yeah.
Morris. Yeah. Yeah. So I had sales and I was in South Carolina. 30 years. People are like, oh, I drive it. I'm very comfortable.
Yeah,
Small plane flights is a. Nobody can bother you for 14 hours. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very.
And
So. Yeah, so Kim, let me give you my info. Oh, yeah, okay. And I'll give you my card. I just realized I never